What on YouTube, it's your boy TC back with another video, and today's episode 10 of the Daily Gunners Talk. So in today's episode, we'll be featuring the return of Alexis Sanchez to training, and it's all smiles with Arsene Wenger. Emiliano Martinez has moved on to Getafe on loan to Spain for season, as well as the fact that Wenger has been talking about transfers and the future of the big money transfers. And the final story we will be discussing in this episode will be in regards to the boost Arsenal has received today in regards to the signing of Thomas Lemar. So jumping into the first story will be in regards to the loan move for Emiliano Martinez. So as mentioned, he's moved to Getafe on loan for the rest of the season. For me, this is a good thing. It's going to give him an opportunity. It's going to give him a chance to actually showcase his talents. So, as mentioned, Martinez has moved to Getafe in Spain for the season, and the 24-year-old made 5 appearances for Arsenal last season and keeping 3 clean sheets during that time. He featured twice in the Premier League, impressing and keeping a clean sheet in our 3-0 win over West Ham last season. So the Argentine has obviously amassed over 50 career appearances for Arsenal since joining in 2010, but 50 appearances in 7 years. To me, if I was a professional football player, that would not be acceptable. Full stop. I wouldn't be able to actually sit on a bench and wait for my turn. I personally will be extremely impatient, and the chap is now 24 and he's obviously decided to move on. I won't be surprised if he's sold next season. So, obviously, during this time as well, he also went on loan. He went on loan to Wolves, Rotherham United, Sheffield Wednesday, as well as Oxford United. And obviously, Martinez goes to Spain to gain further first-team experience. I believe before the transfer window opened or at the end of the season, we had too many keepers in our squad. So 4 keepers I can name, excluding the other youth team keepers. However, 2 of those keepers have now departed in the form of Szczesny as well as Martinez. He's departed to go on loan. This may potentially backfire on Mr. Wenger, I believe. And the reason for this is if we lose Petr Cech for any particular reason on a long-term basis, or if we lose him for a week or 2, we run the risk of only relying on David Ospina. Again, he's fantastic cover. I'll take him any day as a cover goalkeeper. However, if anything was to then happen to him as well, you're left with a difficult situation in that scenario. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is a good move for the squad in general? Or is it a good move for Emi Martinez to move on to Getafe and obviously try and further his own career? So moving on, the next story in today's episode will be regarding a signing of a player by Monaco. However, this turns out to be a boost for Arsenal if things go our way. So the report that came out today suggests that Arsenal's attempts to land Thomas Lemar may have been boosted today by the French club announcing that they've signed Adama Diakhaby. The 21-year-old attacker has signed a 4-year deal with the French champions, joining from Rennes, and is seen as many as a possible replacement for Lemar. Just like the Arsenal target, Diakhaby can operate either centrally or out wide, so he could easily fill in the void that will potentially be left by Lemar. Arsene Wenger has also been chasing Lemar all summer. It has been within the public domain. The fans have been eagerly waiting the announcement of this signing. Some reports suggest that the deal is done. So I believe that those reports may have been true based on the fact that Monaco were waiting to get their replacement in. So obviously we've had 3 bids rejected, I should say, by Monaco this summer. And the last one that was reported, the bid was at about £45 million. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is the trigger that was required for Monaco to release Thomas Lemar? I believe that a deal has been agreed behind closed doors, but we're just waiting for a replacement to come in, and Diakhaby can be that replacement we were waiting for to get things moving. So please let me know what you think in the comments below. Moving on, as we all know, Sanchez is back in training, but images have actually surfaced today, actually showing him appearing to be happy. Reports that came out at some point last season suggested that Sanchez was a moody player, he wasn't a team player, but based on what's taking place and based on what's been reported in recent weeks, images that surfaced today are telling something completely different. So as you can see by the image to my right, Wenger is clearly smiling with Alexis Sanchez in training. They're both clearly having a little joke and a little laugh. It may be for the cameras, but that can't be justified by the images. I'm not too sure, but there wouldn't be any reason for them anyway to put on an act for the cameras. So the report states that the Chile forward was spotted laughing and joking around in training on Wednesday as he chatted with manager Arsene Wenger, and he reacquainted himself with the rest of the first team. He obviously looks ready to put a difficult summer behind him as he prepares for Arsenal's Community Shield clash with Chelsea this Sunday. So hopefully he'll be fit and ready to go for Chelsea. I'd love to see him get back into the squad, but as the images show, as you can see, it looks like the atmosphere is a bit relaxed and everyone is taking the whole situation within their stride. Moving on, and the final story within this episode again will revolve around or is related or linked in some way to the Alexis Sanchez situation. So as the season draws nearer and nearer, Mr. Wenger has been undertaking a lot of press conferences. In particular, recently we had the Emirates Cup, and we're moving towards the Community Shield, so he's obviously doing his usual press runs. But Mr. Wenger recently said some controversial comments, is the only way to describe them, and he believes that players running down their contracts to the last day of their contract will soon become the norm. So the reason for this, Wenger states, is agents will eventually start avoiding the difficult terrain that is navigating a transfer from another club, in particular if these are big money transfers. So the report states that the Gunners' bosses held in the past as a visionary sees players auctioning themselves as free agents instead of being sold for fortunes, just like in the real jobs market. Arsene Wenger claims to be relaxed about players running down their contracts, giving more ammunition to those who think he has parted company with his marbles. Obviously, this comes across as a bit crazy, but he's got his own reasons and he's got his own justifications. So the report further states, how could letting prized talents such as Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil leave for nothing next May be deemed as an ideal situation? Especially when Wenger qualified it by insisting that the contract rebels will play out of their skins until the final day of the season to attract the highest bidders. I'm going to have to disagree with that particular statement from Wenger. The reason being, Alexis Sanchez, if he's not released this summer and if he decides to sulk for the rest of the season and not put in his his usual performances, then what can the club do? What can the boss do? Apart from obviously leaving him on the bench, and his potential suitors will know that he's an extremely, extremely talented player, and they'll sit it out for the 12 months. So the report further states, and by refusing to factor in the risk of malcontent, indulging in a season-long strop for being held against his will. More bizarrely, how could the Arsenal manager argue as Neymar is actually on the brink of a £199 million move to PSG in the coming weeks? So again, Wenger may be a bit crazy. The big money transfers will happen. The fees are going to increase and increase as the years go by. But Wenger said, because the transfers are so high, you will see more and more players going into the final year of their contract because no club will want to pay the amount demanded by the club who currently owns the player. I'm convinced in the next 10 years it will become the usual. So is Wenger actually predicting that top players' agents will bypass on purpose restrictive transfer fees plucked out of the air by clubs and negotiate high lucrative short-term contracts for their clients? Steve Bruce recently hinted that by claiming salary demands are escalating at such a rate that soon it could become the norm for a player to be paid £1 million a week. And if you tie this into what Wenger has said, it potentially makes sense. There's a lot of sense that it makes if you put those two elements together. But I'm not too convinced personally. We will have to wait and see. But I believe the more money that goes into the sport, the more money there is to spend on players themselves. So please let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're watching this video and you're not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also hit the like button on the video. So just a quick recap on this episode. The topics that we featured was Martinez joining Getafe on loan, the boost Arsenal has potentially received by the signing of Diakhaby by Monaco, Alexis Sanchez's rapport with Wenger based on the images that were released today, as well as the fact that Wenger believes that players will run down their contracts and this will become the norm within football. So once again, it's your boy TC from I'm Gonna Talk TV, and I'm out.